You see, the 2 days ago, I got from my garden. It was not blooming, but already just 1 or 2 days. And lavender, our Creator, just gave us the beautiful flowers, and you're gonna be beauty too. Yeah. So let's go together. Read the lesson study. I put here just more the artificial flower. But it's so beautiful. So that's why I'm using until this flower just done. So yeah. This is, let's go, Sabbath. This one, I already show you the list of these, ministering to those in need. There are, if you are not happy, so happy with me together. Just one time, a bit of time together with me, and just a day of freedom. I want to get my freedom. So this day, a day of freedom, Sabbath. So read for this week's study, the Exodus 16 through 18, and the 28 through 11, Deuteronomy 5, 12 through 15, Matthew 12, 9 through 13, Leviticus 25, 1 through 7. Memory text. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man and not man for the Sabbath. Mark 2:27. So the Sabbath was made for us. Yeah, made for the whole world, this world. So that's the freedom. This cartoon shows us. In the board we get the freedom. So just to think about that. In our war, we are so safety. We feel safety. So we have a border there are not a visible border, but in spiritual, there are border under the law, and we just think about to keep the law. We always feel peace, but if we break the law, we always trembling our heart, the beating our heart too. So we know, not others. Sometimes the others knows us, knows our sin, the mistake, but only know ourselves knows what I made those unknown. So let's read, together. God created the Sabbath as the final act of the creation week. It has been said that on the seventh day, God not only rested, but he created rest as an integral part of the way that the world was to be. The Sabbath was a demonstration of how we were created to interact with God and with each other. Interact with God. And God will show us what God is, who God is. So it is hardly surprising to find the Sabbath one of the commandments in God's plan for His people, appearing early on in the establishment of the new Israelite nation. It was to have a pivotal role in the life of the Hebrews. Often, when we talk about the Sabbath, the conversation quickly moves to how to keep it. What are the things that we should not do and the like? However important these questions are, we need to understand the integral role that the Sabbath was designed to play in the world and in the lives of God's people, as a symbol of God's grace and provision. As Jesus said, remember the Sabbath day. It will change us every day of the week. And as Jesus demonstrated, it can be a means of blessing others as well. Yeah, it can be a means of blessings. The Sunday, July 14, manna enough. After generations of slavery and the social degradation that such a condition could inflict on his oppressed people, God sought to lift up the newly freed Israelites, pointing them to a better way of living and giving them laws for the best ordering of their new society. But one of the first parts of this process came in the form of a practical and instructive object lesson. Continuing for the full 40 years of their wilderness wanderings, this rhythm of life, visible evidence of God's provision and practiced unselfishness should have become part of the culture of Israelite society. It came in the form of manna, a food that appeared each morning on the ground around the Israelites' camp. Read Exodus 16, verse 16 through 18. What do you think is the significance of the specific measure for each person emphasized in these verses? I'm sorry to read with Bible, but the sun just go getting down. I have to finish this maybe 30 minutes. So I'm just compare with other no time. So let's go together. And the next time, I postpone, but someday. In 2 Corinthians 8 or 10 to 12, 15, Paul references this story as an example of how Christians should give. At the present time, for your plant will supply what they need, so that in turn their plant will supply what you need. The goal is equality. 2 Corinthians 8:14. The lesson for the Israelites and us was that God has provided sufficiently for his people and his creation. If we take only what we need and are prepared to share our excess with others, we be cared for and provided for. Taking only enough for the day required the people to trust that there would be more the following day. Oppressed people, such as the Israelite slaves, tend to focus on their own survival. But God wanted to demonstrate to them a life of trust, generosity, and sharing. But there was also another more remarkable dimension to this practice. Each Friday, a double portion of manna appeared on the ground, and on that day, and only that day, the people were to collect the extra manna in preparation for the Sabbath. The special provision for the Sabbath became an additional way for them to learn to trust the Lord for all their needs. This extra portion of manna, an act of grace on God's part, is to enable them to enjoy even more fully the rest that God had promised them on the seventh day, Sabbath. What can we do? What can we do on Fridays that will help us better enjoy what God offers us on Sabbath? Yeah, if you experience, I did experience during the 47 years, I just remember the Sabbath, but it was really blessing to me and for my family and for my friends too, for my church. So you try to do, just the remember on the Sabbath day, on the blessing day, on the holiday, just uh, shattered us the time, blessing, and glory to for us the Monday, I can do speedily go on because I'm just reading. And if I want to say some praise, and next time I will more quickly and more fluently just speaking. Then I will speak about my around and about me, myself. And the two reasons for Sabbath, Exodus 28 through 11. So you have to remember, if you have any interesting, you have to read the Bible, the reference Bible, Exodus 28 through 11 and Deuteronomy 5:12 through 15. How do these two versions of the fourth commandment complement each other? Remembering is an important part of the relationship that God seeks to reestablish with his people. A relationship centered on the fact that God is our creator and redeemer. Both roles appear in the two visions of the true fourth commandment and are thus linked closely with Sabbath and its practice. Coming out of a land dominated by so many false gods, the Israelites needed to be reminded of the true God's role as the creator. The Sabbath was a crucial way to do that, made all the more significant in the context of the weekly cycle of providing extra manna on Friday, a powerful example of his creative power in the Exodus 20 version of the fourth commandment. God as our creator is revealed more clearly. By contrast, their rescue, redemption, and salvation is the focus of the focus of the fourth commandment in Deuteronomy 5. This was a story that the Israelites were to retell regularly. They could reconnect with it, especially every Sabbath. Their first story was one of actual physical rescue from slavery in Egypt, but as their understanding of God and his salvation grew, Sabbath also would become a weekly symbol and celebration of their spiritual salvation. Both of these motivations for Sabbath were about restoring the relationship between God and his people. I gave them my Sabbath as a sign between us, so they would know that I, the Lord, made them holy. Ezekiel 20:12. And as we have seen, this was never about this group of people only. Or on the foundation of this relationship, they were to establish a new kind of society, or one that was kind to outsiders and a blessing to the wide world. Therefore, the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day, Deuteronomy 5:15, by keeping the Sabbath as a way of remembering and celebrating both our creation and redemption. We can continue to grow in our relationship, not only with the Lord, but with those around us. God is gracious to us. Therefore, we need to be gracious to others. In what ways should Sabbath keeping make us better, kinder, more caring, and compassionate people? Yeah, what kind? In what ways? In what ways should the Sabbath keeping make us better, kinder, more caring, and compassionate people? Yeah. And then Tuesday, a day of equality. A day of equality. One of the things obvious from a quick reading of the Ten Commandments in Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 is that the fourth commandment is the most detailed by far, whereas some of the commandments are recorded in as few as 3 words in some versions. In the Hebrew some can be expressed in only 2 words. The fourth commandment gives space to the why, how, and who of remembering the Sabbath day. Read Exodus 28 through 11. What does he say about the servants and strangers, even animals, and what does it mean? The notable among these Sabbath details is the focus on others. Sigfrid K. Tonstad argues that this kind of command is unique among all the cultures of the world. The Sabbath commandment, he explains, prioritize from the bottom up and not from the top, looking down, giving society, looking down, first considerations to the weakest and most vulnerable members of society, those who need rest the most. Yes, the slave, the resident alien, and the beast of burden are singled out for special mention. In the rest of the seventh day, the underprivileged, even mute animals find an ally, A-L-L-Y. The lost meaning of the seventh day, Varian Springs, Andrews University Press, 2009, page 126 and 27. The commandment has a special focus on urging that the Sabbath is a day to be enjoyed by everyone. In the light of the Sabbath, we are all equal. If you are an employer during the week, you have no authority to make your employees work on Sabbath. Yeah, right. We are equal. So God already knows that. And you have no authority to make your employees work on Sabbath. And that's because God gave them too a day of rest. Yes. Applause. If you clap, not clap, applause, praise, like that. Amen, amen. If you are an employee or even a slave for the rest of your days, the Sabbath reminds you that you are equally created and redeemed by God. Yes, sure. And God invites you to celebrate. Yeah, invites you to celebrate in in ways other than your usual duties. Even those outside the Sabbath keeping people, any foreigner residing in your towns, Exodus 20, chapter 20, verse 10, and should benefit from the Sabbath. That comes from Sabbath. That will be the benefit. Take the rest. The equal level. So this idea would have been a remarkable change of perspective for the Israelites, fresh from their own experience of slavery and marginalization. Yeah, there are. I didn't not know but the margin. If I understand the margin, there are spare the empty space there. Yeah, we can use the marginalization, the space. And now that they were to be established in a new land, God did not want them to adopt the habits of their former oppressors, as giving them detailed laws for their society. He gave them, all of us, actually a weekly reminder in a powerful way of just how equal we all are before God. So that's why I'm just enjoying my rest, and then I'm just using my margin space. Yeah. If you regularly take your rest, and then you can more the rich flourish, the uh, s- uh, spiritual space, which I can use them. Use them. Yeah. How can you share the Sabbath in your community? Meaning, how can others in your community benefit from your Sabbath keeping? Yeah. In my family, and then we include my community, include my whole nation, then our nation will be a peaceful land, because there are no selfish. God just gives us the love ourselves, and then love your neighborhood like yourselves. So then there are no need law, but still the law boundary just needs our constitution. If we break the law, the confusion, the chaotic will over us. A day of healing, while the original vision, while the original vision, yeah, that'd be more pretty. A day of healing, while the original vision for the Sabbath and Sabbath keeping was broad and inclusive, the Sabbath had become something quite different for many of the religious leaders by the time Jesus came to earth. Instead of a day of freedom and equality, Sabbath had become a day of human traditional rules and restrictions. In his day, Jesus stood up against such attitudes, especially as they were imposed on others. How interesting that he did his most significantly by performing a number of healings on Sabbath. It seems that Jesus intentionally performed these miracles on Sabbath, as opposed to any other day, to demonstrate something important about what the Sabbath should be. Often in these stories, Jesus made comments about the appropriateness of healing on Sabbath, and often the Pharisees used his statements as an excuse to further their plots to have Jesus killed. Read the stories of Jesus' Sabbath healings in Matthew 12, 9 through 13, Mark 1, 21 through 26, 3, 1 through 6, and John 9, 1 through 16. What are the most significant things you notice in these stories? I want to read it, but Jesus confirmed that the Sabbath is important. We need to put boundaries around the Sabbath time to keep it special and to allow this weekly time to be an opportunity to grow our relationships with God, our families, our church, and our community. But Sabbath keeping should not be selfish about just us. As Jesus said, it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath. Matthew 12:12. Many church members do much good work to care for others, but many of us also fear that we should do more to help. We know God cares about those who are hurting, oppressed, or forgotten, and that we should are freed from the pressures of the week. On Sabbath, we are given time to focus on this concern for others as one of the ways of true and active Sabbath keeping. According to the fourth commandment, the Sabbath to be suspended, but works of mercy and benevolence were in accordance with the purpose of the Lord to relieve the afflicted, to comfort the sorrowing, is a labor of love that does honor to God's holy day. The Ministry 77 page. What do you do for the good of others on Sabbath? What do you do? Others. The Thursday, July 18th, Sabbath rest for the land, As we have seen, Sabbath was an ingrained part of the life cycle of the Israelite nation. But the Sabbath principle was not just about the day each week. It also included a special rest each seventh year, culminating in the year of Jubilee after 7 sets of 7 years, meaning each 50th year. Uh, read Leviticus 25, 1 through 7. What is remarkable about this kind of instruction? In what possible ways could you incorporate this kind of principle into your life and work? The seventh year allowed the farmland to lie fallow for the year. It is a remarkable act of stewarding the land, and the wisdom of this as an agricultural practice has been recognized widely. The seventh year also was significant for slaves. Exodus 21, verse 1 through 11. And in the event that any of the Israelites became so indebted as to sell themselves into slavery, they were to be freed in the seventh year. Similarly, outstanding debts were to be cancelled at the end of the seventh year. Deuteronomy 15, 1 through 11. 이거 하고 나자마자 물 줘야 돼, 해지기 전에. Like the manna God provided to the Israelites in the wilderness, not planting crops for a season was an act of trust that God would provide enough in the previous year and from what the ground produced by itself in the seventh year. Similarly, to release slaves and cancel death was an act of mercy, but also an act of trust in the power of God to provide for our needs. In a sense, the people needed to learn that they didn't have to oppress others in order to provide for themselves. The principles and the pattern of the Sabbath were to be closely tied to the structure of the Israelite society as a whole. Similarly, contemporary Sabbath keeping should be a spiritual discipline that transforms all our other days. Yes, that's the kind of discipline, like God's, to learn God's character and then to take care of our characters, and improve. That's why we just grow up to our gods. We are the God's lineage. The God is our Father. That we have to learn the Father's, character. Yeah, love. I hope. But God already suggested for us, in a practical sense, that the Sabbath is one way of living out Jesus' instructions to seek first His kingdom. Your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. He knows our needs. So that's why I'm just hands up and then please ask to God, please help me. You already knew me. So that your heavenly Father already knows all your needs, and He will give you everything you need. Matthew 6, 32, 33. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. What difference should keeping the Sabbath make to the other 6 days of your week? After all, if you are greedy, selfish, and uncaring from Sunday through Friday, what does it really matter if you are none of these things on Sabbath? Or truly, can you not be those things on Sabbath even if you are that way the rest of the week? Yes. And the Friday already done, just 30 minutes. And further thought here, from the Red Sea to Sinai, and Jesus stated to them that the work of relieving the the afflicted was in harmony with the Sabbath law. It was in harmony with the work of God's angels who are ever descending and ascending between heaven and earth to minister to suffering humanity. And man also has a work to perform on this day. The necessities of life must be attended to, the sick must be cared for, the wants of the needy must be supplied. He will not be held guiltless. Guiltless who neglects. That's my point here. Who neglects to relieve suffering on the Sabbath. God's holy rest day was made for man, and acts of mercy are in the perfect harmony with its intent. God does not desire his creatures to suffer an hour's pain that may be relieved upon the Sabbath or any other day. The Desire of Ages, page 2006 and 7 by Ellen G. White. The last one, discussion questions. Further thought, if you go to the book of this here, you can the more study from this. And discussion question 1 through 4. 1. In what ways have you experienced the Sabbath as a demonstration of your trust in God? Have you had the manna-like experience in your life where God has provided in response to your trust in Him? If so, share it with the class and tell them what you have learned. Yeah, we're gonna discuss about this. And 2, as we have seen in the fourth commandment as found in Exodus 28 through 11 and Deuteronomy 5:12 through 15, God emphasized the different aspect of Sabbath. What is the one aspect of the Sabbath that you most appreciate? 3, in class or individually, brainstorm some ways you can share the blessings and benefits of the Sabbath in your community. Yeah, I have lots of stories to this kind of benefits, the brainstorm. The 4, what are some of the ways the Sabbath changes your life? There are other parts of your life in which the patterns and the principles of the Sabbath should have a greater impact. And summary, all of this, the lesson 3 summary, the God gave the Sabbath as a way of remembering creation and the redemption, but it also has many practical benefits. It teaches us to trust in God's provision for us. It teaches us to practice equality, and it can become a spiritual discipline that can transform all our relationships. Jesus demonstrated his idea for the Sabbath by healing the sick and emphasizing the Sabbath as a day to benefit those in need. Yeah, for the need. Yeah, this is the so that's why I'm just pre-read before the 1 week. During this week, we have to think about that. Sometimes we don't read the lesson study, so that's why I'm reading all the story, the lesson. Then we can talk with talk with your class or the others. So this inside the story here, Snake Bite Transforms Village by Wilson Misapog. Wilson Misapog is the executive secretary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Southern Asia Division, whose territory includes India. His father died in 2017 at the age of 77. His father's story and death. Yeah. The Sundar Rao, a 27-year-old farm worker, was intrigued when a white man showed up at his Indian village and read about the Creator God from a black book on Saturdays. Sundar was attracted to U.S. missionary Theodore R. Plage's Bible stories and decided to follow his God. Sundar's employer was furious when he didn't go to the field the first Sabbath. His anger grew as Sundar kept refusing to work on Saturdays. At home, Sundar angered his relatives by no longer participating in family religious festivals, including the worship of Naiga, a snake god. Naiga, snake god. After a time, Sundar sought peace by building a house just beyond the brook that marked the village's border. Soon he got married and had a daughter. One day, when Sundar was 29, his employer, right? I can't. I'm sorry. After a time, Sundar sought peace by building a house just beyond the brook that marked the village's border. So at home, Sundar angered his relatives by no longer participating in family religious festivals, including the worship of Naga, snake god. After a time, Sundar sought peace by building a house just beyond the brook that marked the village's border. Soon he got married and had a daughter. One day, when Sundar was 29, his employee asked him to work on a Saturday. After you worship ends on Saturday, come and help count bales of hay, he demanded. Sundar reluctantly obeyed. He arrived at the field after sunset, but before darkness had set in. With help from others, he counted the bales. Noticing a small bale off to one side, he kicked it toward the larger bale in a split second. A young cobra sprang from the bear, struck him on the leg, and fled. No medical help was available, and Sundar knew he would die soon. The villagers had no doubt that Naiga was punishing him. Naiga is very angry at you, and one said, "It's because you disobeyed all the village gods," said another. Sundar started to sweat. Formerly estranged family members gathered around him and wept. The village waited for him to close his eyes and die, but nothing happened. A snake bite specialist was summoned to check his leg. He was astounded at what he found. He declared that the cobra had struck Sundar with the top of his mouth, not with the poisonous fangs, and had fled in fright without trying to bite the second time. The next day, the villagers were amazed to see that Sundar was healthy and happy. The protection of the white man's God has saved him from the cobra bite, they said. From the moment in 1957, many villagers joined the Sundar in keeping the Sabbath. 5 years after the snake bite, I was born to Sundar. Today, Guam Madhabaram is an Adventist village. It has produced 40 pastors and Bible authors and many educations and health professionals. On Saturdays, the whole village stops to worship the Creator God. This is the power of the God who turned the snake bite into blessing. Yeah, thank you, Lord. Lord always make us the miracle for us. So the next lesson 4. Just wait. The mercy and justice in Psalms and Proverbs. It's really good lesson here. Yeah, let's go. I'm so busy. The Korean lesson study and the English lesson study together. So I will control my body and no energy down here. So, but today is the special day. I'm using my extra time. So praising today, especially I praise you with kids song. So hard to learn to me, so speedy. So I can catch it, all the songs just the rhythm. Then I just dance together. Usually, the almost every year when my youth time, the VBS, I'm just be a Bible teacher for the kinder or the kindergarten after junior for kids. So I don't use my hands the song like that. So that's why I didn't attend the song. So but with my kids, I'm just memorizing some of songs and just using for my grandkids. So with my grandkids, I have to learn the speedy song together with them. So that's why I'm control my body. And if I have time after watering my flowers, almost the sun is getting down, but I try to read the Korean one. I started yesterday night. I'm always using in English book or the kind of reference. The Korean fluent my Korean, but I don't use my Korean because I'm so awkward in Korean. Just reading also just weird to me, weird, and then just talk with others. Also, so that's why I didn't try to the reading the Korean book. Instead of reading, I'm just talk in my native Korean. But already I used in English reading. But yes, anyway, I started from yesterday night in my the the other side room, the veranda room for the storage. So it's so uncomfortable. But start anyway, start, and then I will try to read this one maybe 2 lessons. Yeah, first time I gonna read anyway, and then after reading the Holy Spirit will use me and then talk with you, and then just maybe at that time, if I just reading and just writing on there, just top chat, there are chatting together. Yeah, there are lots of chatting, but I have to answer to them, but I cannot answer now. So that's why I'm just speak out. It's more easy than the chatting. Yeah, bye. Thank you. See you, my happy family. So may God bless you. God bless you. Bye.